So we've got Trump as president in these books from the 1800s. Then we have
Yeah.
Tesla come along. Well, he was around before, at the same time of those books, but he brings in free energy. There is talk of Tesla and time travel. Of course, he dies. Donald Trump's uncle then is happens to be the guy who gets the papers of all of Tesla's stuff that, we're not allowed to look at or know. Then we have these stories of the Looking Glass Project. Hello and welcome. Campbell here from Autodidactic, and I'm back with Guy for another chat. And well, we're going to start off on St Germain, and we're going to see where this one ends up. So welcome back, Guy. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, good. Busy. Trying to find time with the quickening going on around me.
How
Days
are
been
you getting on with what happened with the cyclone?
Oh, the cyclone. We got a lot. There was a lot of rain, um, but yeah, no, they were predicting, all this catastrophe and houses wiped out and blah blah, but nothing really happened. A lot of rain.
No.
There was a bit of flooding, but nothing too bad. And yeah, it was completely man-made, right? You can see the satellite shots. It had like right angles and stuff where they were holding it in. It was bloody. So yeah, nothing, man. It's a bit of a non-event, but yeah, tons of water, which is nice. Yeah.
Yeah. I think here it's not so nice when it rains because it's so waterlogged a lot of the time anyway. And
Mm.
then we watch the chemtrailing, and then all of a sudden a blue sky turns to grey. Oh, the rain
It's
again.
funny,
Not
isn't it?
again. They
Yeah.
struggle here to grow anything.
Yeah, well, we're up on a hill, but we're on what we would call it a mountain, but it's not. It's a hill. So when it rains, everything just gets wet and then runs off. So everyone sort of down
Mm.
the bottom gets flooded, but we don't.
But you're all right.
You're standing up here, the beach just gets closer. But I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Like all these chemtrails and all these grey skies that everyone, seems to be having, right? These weather events. I mean,
Yeah.
kind of reminiscent of the vanilla skies that we see in photos, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So it makes you wonder, was there something similar going on in the 1850s, with all these photos we get, all these strange photos? Or was it just to blur out airships? Who knows?
Or both, yeah. I mean, sometimes I think they're blowing they were blowing out airships, and but I think that there were other things that those vanilla skies hide too, and probably a lot of other buildings, perhaps larger buildings, and of course trees. There could be some giant trees in the backdrop.
Interesting. Well, and there's also like a lot of stories and folklore and mythology about floating cities, right? I mean, I wonder if they were they could have been a thing, right? Floating around, and
Yeah,
it could have
yeah.
been plasma in the sky, who knows? But it looks like they're trying to hide something.
Yeah, it does. It does because there's no reason to do it. There's absolutely no reason to take a picture of an old building and etch away the background. Why would you need to
Yeah.
do that? There isn't, is there? And sometimes you see it where there are cables running, and they'll etch a little bit of the cable out of the sky, but you can still see it running across the front of the
Yeah.
buildings.
Cables are good
You
because
know,
they never can get quite close enough. So they normally have like this bit around them of a different color.
yeah,
And that's crazy because that's what most of them are. They're actually hand done that way.
yeah, yeah. They often paint, don't they? They paint people,
You can see the
horses.
edges, and then yeah, I've seen them paint stuff in, and it's crazy, right? AI of the
Mm,
1800s, I guess.
mm.
Photoshop.
But I think they've
Um,
been modifying the weather for a very, very long time. So who knows what was going on in the sky? I mean, Tesla was working on that, but I found an old cigarette card. I can't actually remember the year, but it's old, and it was weather modification, and it had something very similar to the Tesla Tower on it, and
wow.
it was weather. I'll see if I can turf it
Oh,
out and
yeah,
ping it
yeah.
over.
Yeah, if
Yeah, it
it
was.
is, yeah. Send it over and I'll put it on the screen if you can find it. But yeah, yeah, I think it's very old. I mean, Raymond Rife, it was back in the 30s, wasn't he? He was doing cloud
Mm,
busting and stuff
mm,
with
yeah,
Orgon. So
yeah.
Why were there so many, why was he cloud busting, right? That's an interesting question.
Yeah. How popular was Kate Bush over there?
Kate Bush. I mean, it was really just Babushka and running up that hill, I think, a couple of hits. So she was big, but probably not as big
Well,
as today. It was a
she
bit
did a
like,
song, didn't she? What was that song she did? Was there? Did she do a song on cloud busting or something like that?
oh, actually, that kind of rings a bell.
God, that's going to bug me now. I'll have to have a quick look.
Yeah, you'll have to
Oh,
Google it.
what
It
was
does
it?
kind of ring a bell.
Yeah.
I don't know, somewhere back in the deep, dark recesses of my musical knowledge.
I mean,
But
she's yeah, cloud busting. Yeah, it was cloud
it was
busting.
called cloud busting. Yeah, wow. Well, there you go. Because she
Yeah,
was
yeah, it is called cloud
supposedly
busting. Yeah,
into the witchcraft, right? That was the rumor anyway,
yeah.
that she was
1985.
1985.
1985. There's a few conspiracies
85.
around her. I mean, she was just a kid when she became famous overnight and then disappeared again.
Okay, was she young? Was she? I always thought
Yeah,
that she was old. She had that sort of mature look. I thought
no,
she was
no. I
young
think
with
late teens.
Babushka.
I think.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Mm.
Ballet dancer who became a singer.
And it's strange. Cloud. As soon as you said cloud busting, though, I just thought, I know this. I know this. But yeah,
Have
Kate
a
Bush. What's
listen.
going on there? 1985.
Have a listen. See what truth drops are in there.
Yeah, she got it from somewhere.
She did. Raymond Wright.
Mm.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, tell us about Saint Germain. You've got some bits you've been looking at.
Yeah, I
Recent
have. I
last week.
have. Yeah, yeah. Crikey, I didn't half write some stuff. But some of this we probably went over last time. Um, the the one thing that I found really fascinating was as I said before, the link to uh, Cartaphilis, who was known as the Wandering Jew. That's the one that I I can't find anything more on him, and I want to know if people out there know anything about this, because this is, as I said before, the story of the Jesus is carrying a cross, stops for a rest, and he's told by this stranger not to stop, to keep going, and then Jesus says to him, you're not going to rest until I return." And after that, this wandering Jew is seen everywhere. He's seen in the Middle East, he's seen in Europe, and then he's seen wandering west. And that's all they say, wandering west. Well, if you're in Europe and you're wandering west, the
With
only place to go is America.
oh, okay, right, way west. Yeah,
Well,
okay,
there's
way out
nothing
west.
west of Europe. I mean, if we're saying that the UK is
But the
in
UK is
Europe,
part of Europe, of course. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Well,
then
okay,
what
that's
is west of
interesting
there?
because he has been kind of named in the USA, hasn't he? There's a bit
Yeah,
of folklore there as well.
yeah, with the Declaration of Independence. Yeah,
Declaration of Independence.
yeah,
And
and yeah. So
he's also
but
tied, isn't he, to Jack the Vampire? Is that his name?
I don't know that one. Oh, you've got to
Vampire,
tell us that one then. That's one I don't
Vampire
know.
Jack in the Mississippi, no, or down the south somewhere. Jacques Saint Germain. This is Wikipedia, so it has to be the truth. Jacques Saint Germain is a legendary vampire originating in the folklore of the 20th century in New
Ah,
Orleans in local legend. He's associated with the historical Count of Saint Germain. According to legend, Jacques or Saint Germain moved to New Orleans from France in 1902. He claimed to be a descendant of Count of Saint Germain. Saint Germain earned a reputation for entertaining New Orleans aristocracy with luxurious dinner parties, similar to what happened in Europe, right?
yeah, yeah,
Um, although
exactly the same.
he never partook of the food served. Because of his wealth and mysterious background, rumors circulated about him in New Orleans high society. He was described as a womanizer, went into the French Quarter nightly to meet young women. One night, screams were heard coming from St. Germain's home after he brought a woman home from the bar. The woman jumped out from the second-story window, telling bystanders she had been attacked by her host, who had seized her
Hmm.
and bitten her on the neck. When police searched his home, they found bloodstains and wine bottles filled with blood, and St. Germain was missing. So that's the little bit. That's really that's just one incident. But this is
That,
apparently New Orleans folklore.
well, that does tie in with the count, doesn't it?
Does a bit, you know.
Yeah, I mean, are we talking about the same person there, or could he be a descendant, or is he just
Well,
reinventing
like Highlander,
himself?
right? You know, when
Yeah,
he got to a
yeah,
certain age, he'd just, I would maybe not his son, but you know, he'd get another alias and you know become this new person, and then just will everything that he had to this new name, and off you
yeah.
go, right?
Because
Like,
I guess his interest initially, the Count of Saint Germain, was the fact that he could recite history like he'd been there, and people like King Louis of France would just found his stories really entertaining. Even Casanova was said to be impressed with it, and quoted him being an incredible conversationalist, scholar, and linguist, chemist, and musician as well. So maybe you get to a point where people are starting to think, hold on a minute, this there's something here, because he was arrested a few times. The Count, he was arrested. Um, so maybe he got to a point where he had to reinvent himself because of the fear that something was going to happen. But the whole immortality thing and drinking blood, I mean, the blood, I immediately link that to adrenochrome.
well,
Um,
could be that.
I can't help it. I think I'm so far down the rabbit hole now, Gabble, that everything I look at, there's another
Well,
conspiracy attached.
this is the thing, you know, like we have all these stories and legends of vampires and stuff, but you know, in the mainstream today, they try and link it with, you know, dudes who sleep in coffins and turn into bats, right? They sort of take away
Yeah,
the
yeah,
original story. You know, of
yeah,
course, the original Count Dracula related to Prince Charles was Vlad the Impaler because he
yeah,
could impale people on spikes, basically. So he
yeah,
was not a nice guy. So, I mean, I'm sure that, you know, in that sense, they're bloodsuckers, right? Just, you know,
yeah,
like what we would call a banker today, right? They're bloodsuckers. So,
yeah, absolutely. I mean,
but
that's the whole vampire thing that was taken seriously.
oh, for
It's
sure.
only now that we see it. I mean, like Pope Benedict XIV, he actually personally reviewed vampire cases. I
Yep.
mean, for it to be on that level, and there were links there to that the research they were doing became
Yep.
very similar to people looking at adrenochrome. And I can't pronounce it, but it's the University of League or Leig, Leig. They started holding formal dissertations on vampire activity. I mean, this is a prestigious university where people are writing papers on vampire activity, not on myth or folklore, but actually on activity itself. Now, for a university and a pope to be investigating and studying this is not just surely myth and folklore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's more than one story, right? There used to be vampire hunters, and have you seen all the graves and they have cages over them? And
Yeah,
the story is that they were built for people they believed were vampires, so they couldn't
yeah,
come out of the coffin again, right? Which is
yeah,
probably where the legend of them sleeping in coffin, you know, that sort of part comes from.
mm,
But yeah, there's definitely bloodthirsty people out there. And then we've obviously got today, right, with people like
yeah,
what's her name? Marina Abramovich, something like that.
yeah,
We were cooking, you know, all these weird rituals that seem to center around things. Of course, the achrome, you know, all this stuff. It's the same story.
mm,
And that's what we find
it
so much
is.
with research is we have all these old stories of people trying to warn us that there's these, you know,
Yeah,
different entities or evil entities or whatever, because I don't believe that they're us. Um, and that's really when you look at the past 100 years, they've put a lot of effort into making that nonsensical, right? And if you believe that, you're an
yeah,
idiot, right? And
yeah,
it's all fantasy and fairy tales, and then you find out, oh, hang on, the fairy tales are actually real, and the stories we've
yes,
been told are the fake ones. They're the you know the tales, the tall tales. So you know, because as soon as you go to school, right? If you believe in, you know, you can see your imaginary friend, or if you believe in spirit, you know, you're made to look stupid, right? And so you won't do that again. That's how they wipe it out. They just embarrass people.
Well,
And
look,
who would do that but someone who's wanting to not be looked at?
yeah, exactly. And look at the dunce's cap
Yes.
or the dunce's hat. That's
That's a wizard's
that's a
hat.
wizard's. It is. It is.
Yep.
There's something in that,
Yeah.
and I do think that the further it's more Tartaria that got me interested in mythology and folklore, and then obviously with the Cabbage Patch Children, I
Mm.
started looking at Slavic folklore where the whole cabbage thing started. But I think that the more I delved into Tartaria, the more I was looking at dragons and the griffin, the more I started to think that these dinosaur fossils that we discover,
Yeah.
are they actually, they say, oh, well, we found the leg of something. We think it's from a T-Rex. I'm thinking, well, is it? Is that from a giant or is that from a dragon?
Yeah.
And I think adding the fire to the breath made it fantastical. It's I think that was added so it became more unbelievable. But I think that
Yes.
you know where did all these cultures and civilizations suddenly come up with the same design, the same drawing, the same image of
Yeah.
this exactly the same creature? And
Yeah.
like with the griffin, like the Tartarians held that so closely because of its loyalty. They say that when a griffin mates,
Yeah.
it mates for life, and then the Catholics hijack it, and it's a symbology of loyalty in marriage. Um, where did that come from? Why would you create a creature and then give it a story about its loyalty?
Yeah.
We didn't do that with the T Rex, did we? We didn't say, well, the great thing about the T Rex is he was loyal, or he was, yeah, he was known for his party tricks, or whatever. We didn't come up with anything like that, or simply
No.
that they were mated
Well,
for life. But
but this is the thing that they try and tell us for all of this stuff, right? All of what, mythology, what we're told is mythology, is it's all, anthropomorphization, right? Us turning,
mm,
humanizing things and trying to see meaning where things don't. And they talk about things like, oh, they saw the wind blow and so they made a goddess. And it's like
yeah,
that hasn't
yeah,
happened since. And I don't know anyone who, I mean, you could say, well, we're told of this stuff, but it doesn't, it's just it makes humans look stupid is what it does, right? And sounds
yeah,
shit.
it does. Yeah, it does. I
That's,
sometimes wonder if it's linked to the pineal gland that until it's calcified, scientists say by about 9 years old it's calcified through diet, fluoride in the water, and so on. So is it that in our younger years, when we see monsters in the cupboard, something under the bed, fairies at the end of the garden, is that because we're actually able to see things in a slightly different way or in a different dimension? And then once the pineal gland has been calcified, that our third eye is basically shut and we're stuck in 3D?
yeah, I'm not 100% sure if it's a pineal gland, but we're taught a reality. You see a little kid, see a little girl running around with her little wand. She's, I'm a fairy, and she is. We don't know what she's saying, but I'm pretty sure that she's seeing whatever she's telling you she's seeing, right? And the whole
Mm,
imaginary friend thing. And then we hit school, and you go to school, and the first thing they do is tell you to leave your imaginary friend at the door, and then you go in,
yeah,
and then they teach you spelling, right? And that's defining things. They get you to draw a house. This is a house, right? A square with a triangle on top. That's a house. They don't say, where would you love to live? Create some amazing, so that they box everything in. And that there's a saying, when a child first sees a bird, it sees this amazing thing, that can fly and it's colorful and it makes sound and it's, so, wow. And then as soon as they get told it's a bird, all they can see is a bird,
yeah,
which is
that's quite
spelling.
profound. That,
Yeah, yeah. So
yeah,
we're literally, in my perspective, we're programmed. All that's programmed out of us. We're programmed to not
yeah,
see. We're programmed to see in a small sphere. We're told this is what's, this is reality. This is what's real. And if you don't agree, well, go stand in the corner and you're stupid and you're going to fail your test and all this
Mm.
because that's the end result, right? Unless you agree with the teacher, you're a failure, right?
Yes.
And a troublemaker
Yeah.
and everything else. I mean, but
My old
probably not a bad thing to be a failure of society, really.
my eldest son, he I used to get called up to the school quite a lot. He was always inquisitive. He still is now. He asks questions all the time, and he's nearly bloody 30, and he's still asking questions about everything. And they start
Oh,
He's disruptive. He keeps questioning things that we're talking about, especially in religious education or religious studies, I think it's called now. He would ask questions. He was fascinated, and he would actually get punished for asking too many questions.
mm, yeah.
How is that helping someone learn?
It's not because school is not about learning. School is to
Indoctrination.
teach you how to think, not, I mean, what to think, not how to think, right? It's complete indoctrination. Of course it is. That's
Yeah,
what a test is, right? You're just
yeah,
testing if you're good enough to go into their tax paying system.
yeah, yeah.
It's all,
Absolutely. I
it's
totally agree with you.
a complete scam. And then, a lot of people, they leave school and they go to university and they spend, God, 50, 100 grand on an education and they have to pay it off for 10 years at exorbitant rates. Like back in the
It's
50s and 60s, it was all free in Australia. And this, I think early 70s. And
what I don't
actually, earlier they used to pay you to go to university in Australia.
What a contrast. I don't know if it's still the case here because I haven't looked at it for a few years, but up until as far as I know, it still is. But certainly recently, it was still free to go to university in Scotland.
Nice.
So literally, we're talking about crossing a border and
Yeah.
having no fees. Now, I don't know how that applied if you were from England
Yeah, I
and
was going
went
to
to
say, do a
study
lot
in
of people do
Scotland.
that? Like you
I
think,
don't know, but
oh,
Edinburgh is quite a respected university,
wow.
so there's going to be a lot of people from England and other countries that go there. I don't know how that works. I don't know if it just
Yeah.
applies to people that are Scottish,
Maybe it's
but
just it might just be a Scottish right.
yeah, could be Scottish, right? Nice one there. Yeah, yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, yeah. So the whole Saint Germain. Um, did I tell you about that he met someone? He met a bloke called Guy Ballard. I think I did, didn't I? Last
Yes,
time he
indeed. Yeah.
bumps into him on Mount Shasta in California, and
Yeah.
suddenly he forms his own religion based upon it. It's still around today, actually. The I Am
The,
Activity
the
movement,
I am activity. Yeah, that weird name. Strange name for a
and
church.
I haven't looked into that, but that's something that needs a deeper dive. That religion itself. I
Mm.
actually got sidetracked because I started looking at this guy Ballard, and then 5 minutes later, I'm looking at the Raelians
Yeah.
and that religion, and then Clonade, and then from going completely off tangent here. Um, I then look at David Icke. I looked at the story of Rail,
Right.
the founder of the Raelians,
Yeah.
and he goes from being, I think he was he a racing car
Racing car.
driver and a journalist,
Yep.
and in
Sports
the mid
photographer.
'70s,
Mm.
yeah, and then suddenly he becomes he has well he has an experience. He's enlightened, and they reach. Well, this mirrors David Icke's story.
Yeah.
20 years later, David Icke comes out with a very similar story, similar background. He's a footballer and
Yeah.
commentator, and then has a moment, and then literally starts his own following as well after an
Mm.
enlightening experience. Well,
Yeah. Yeah. What
do you reckon he ripped it off?
oh, the Raelian guy.
Yeah, it's the
He came
same
after.
story.
Yeah, right.
Do you see where I'm going with this? Because a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah.
people say that. I mean, Ike won't go anywhere near certain subjects. Have you ever heard him talk about Tartaria
No, no.
or resets? Or, I mean, he doesn't
No,
talk about that.
not at
His
all.
thing is, we live in a matrix and they're all reptilians.
Yeah.
But he doesn't talk about anything else. So where Well, I know he's quite topical, whatever's going on currently, but he doesn't deep dive, does he? He doesn't deep dive into things like, I mean, when I first started getting into Tartaria or Tartaria, whatever you want to call it, we all call it something slightly different. But most people say that you're not supposed to pronounce the first R, are you? It's Tartaria. But
Oh, is it? Okay.
um,
I did
I'm
not
so
know.
used to calling it
I
Tartaria
call
that
it
it works for
Tartaria.
me. Yeah, lot of people do. Martin does as well. I was chatting to you the other day, but I can't help it. Um, but that when I started looking into that years ago, that was at the time considered to be the greatest conspiracy theory of them all. So
Tartaria.
why so why wouldn't the UK's biggest so-called conspiracy theorist mention it?
Well, I mean, yes, there's a million answers to that question, isn't there? I mean,
Yeah, it's only one for me
ultimately,
though.
we just don't know. He's put it. I mean, David Icke is really one of the people who started the whole awakening movement, if you want to call it that, right? And really sort of started pointing out and making a lot of links to the government and to, reptilians and other entities and that. Before him, it was just kind of a lot more airy-fairy and spiritually, and
Yeah,
it wasn't, so hardcore. There was a few people around, but not he was just the one that got the biggest, I think. So I don't know. Is he real? Is he a plant? Has he been bought? We don't know. I mean, he could just be, you know, I just want to stick to what I'm doing, and I understand that as well, like all the time I get, why don't you do more flat earth stuff and blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, because I'm not that interested in like there's other people doing that, right? That's so, who knows, but ultimately we don't even really know, who Ike is, right?
no,
But I mean, something
no.
happened. Remember, he came out on that talk show. I can't remember.
Terry Wogan.
Yeah, and said he was
Yeah,
teaching
it was huge
in
here.
his pink and blue tracksuit. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, and literally, yeah, he said that he's what the reincarnation of Jesus or something.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so who knows? But I mean, it's interesting. Yeah, did someone rip him off? Because I mean, that happens all the time, right? In these communities, like alternative sort of information and especially self-help, right? And that's why opinion.
lost you there. You can. Oh, you're back.
I'm back. Oh, yeah. So the self-help movement's been destroyed, in my opinion. Like, E's and 40s. I think my dog's jumping around, unplugging things. Are you there?
Yeah, I
But
can
like
hear
the
you.
people who used to teach that stuff were people who made, were self-made, came from nothing, made $1 million, and then people said, "How did you do it?" They started teaching. Now you get
Yeah,
people who make their money from selling a book, telling people how to make money, and
yeah,
every time it's all the same information. There's no new information to be found, right? We know it all. So that what
no,
that means is every time someone writes a new book or makes a new course, they have to change it a bit so they're not copywriting. And this has been going on for
yeah,
40 or 50 years. So what we've got
yeah,
now is way away from the truth. Everything's all just convoluted and so I think that happens
yeah.
with everything really. But
Yeah, I think that if you look at Stoicism, like that's a huge thing at the moment. My youngest son's massively into Marcus Aurelius and his
Marcus
work,
Aurelius, yeah,
and you could literally copy and paste all of his work and put it out there as a book and publish it
yeah, yeah, yeah,
tomorrow on
yeah, yeah.
Amazon, print on
Because
demand.
totally.
The
And
copyrights,
people,
yes, it's not there.
yeah, and this is the thing. Like I've literally seen there's channels out there, and they just clearly like they pop up every now and on my feed, and I've noticed the names, and they just go around and they'll just copy anyone's video that that does well. Like they find a genre, and they'll find the top sort of creators, and they just copy or download and upload their
Yeah,
videos and
yeah,
monetize it. And so it's just this repeating of knowledge, and most of it wasn't that good to start with. So, that's the problem with society, right? That's one of the biggest problems is money that we need to pay
yeah,
for everything because people are focused much more on the money, than getting a result and what they actually want to do to change the world. And it's all about money. And I understand you need money to live, but it's not good for society, right? Like all the thinkers and the
Mm.
artists and that, they're running around working in cafes, right? Trying to pay the rent when they should be creating,
We
right? And all the musicians, and all this stuff. Like they don't get
Well,
time
we're
to.
told that, aren't we? We're told from school that, oh, there's no money in acting, there's no money in art, there's no money. When I was at school, it was get a trade,
Yeah.
learn something, go and be a carpenter, go and be a metal fabricator, go and be a bricklayer, and there wasn't anything creative being pushed at all. No, the art class is empty. Nobody wanted to do drama. The amount of people that took any form of creative arts as a qualification or sort of a focus for their further education was quite small. I mean, I did go to
Mm.
art college, but there was in my year in school there were three people that went to art college, me being one of them.
You're right.
Three.
Yeah.
You think out of how many kids there are in a year, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
just
Well, this
just
is
three
the
of us.
thing, parents push it as well, right? There's a lot of, peer pressure and parental pressure because, in the end, parents really, most of them just want to help their kids, and that's what they think is helping them. Get a job so you can pay your bills and
Get
have
a
a
proper
comfortable,
job.
get a real job. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Cut your hair, get a real job, and then at least, in their mind, you can have, a home and you can pay your bills and so you can live comfortably. Because they never had, and I guess it's probably because they're closer to the reset, right? They never had a
Mm.
vision that there's anything else because there was all these workhouses, right? Back in like their grandparents or great grandparents would have been raised in workhouses. Literally, you get up and you work. And that's just all through our narrative, right? Like people who
Yeah.
don't have a job are lazy or, and there's so much emphasis on success, which means money and means having they don't care if you die of a heart attack at 40 and you're stressed out your whole life. But, if you've got a Mercedes and an apartment on the coast, oh man, you're successful. We envy you.
Mm.
It's
It's measured wrong.
it's measured
The
very
way we
wrong.
measure these things is backward. I was just, when you mentioned the workhouses, I just thought about Ragamuffin Day and where the whole sort of trick or treat and Halloween came from in New York. And Ragamuffin Day was the one day of the year that the kids that were working in New York were given a day off.
Are you
One
serious?
day a
Is that
year.
where the
Yeah.
word ragamuffin comes from?
Yeah.
Because
So
we used to
these,
get told that as don't be, if you're playing up and being a bit silly, they're like, don't be a ragamuffin.
yeah. Yeah, so it comes
What?
from that. I
Yeah.
wrote about it in my book, um, and because what I was looking at was the orphan trains, the orphans that living on the streets in New York, where they came from, connecting it with incubator babies, and this sudden need to, and then obviously with the incubators, people spending an incredible amount of time, money, and effort into saving the life of a premature baby at exactly the same time as people in New York are saying that we're overrun with children. There are too many children, and it doesn't stack up that you're one minute you're complaining that you're overrun with kids and you're having to dispatch them all over the country, and the next minute you are trying to save the lives of babies that would have died, that wouldn't have
Mm,
made it. There's no real logic in that. It's a total contradiction. So I
yeah.
started delving into it, and yeah, the whole ragamuffin thing was the one day of the year that these kids were allowed to just wreak havoc. They could do whatever they liked. I mean, some of them were caught with firearms.
Wow.
Yeah, and they could do anything they liked. And then they morphed that into trick or treats, and then it became
Right.
Halloween because there were a lot of Irish people living in New York that carried this tradition of Halloween with them. It started off as a cabbage before it was a pumpkin, and what kids would do. Yeah,
Really?
so the idea with the cabbage was that what you did that then turned into a pumpkin was a girl would go into, so say, let's say somebody's a neighbour's little garden, little allotment, pick a cabbage, and the quality of their cabbage determined the quality of her future husband and ultimately their children. And once she'd picked the cabbage and looked at the cabbage and inspected it, she then threw it at the door, the front door, and ran away. So
That's
it's all
amazing.
linked. Yeah.
definitely there's a link there to the Cabbage Patch Kid narrative. That's
Mm.
interesting.
Yeah, and if you look at the where the orphans came from, they say that it was this influx of Italians and Irish immigrants to New York, but their nickname before the ragamuffins was street Arabs.
Street Arabs.
Yeah, little Arabs, dirty little Arab. They were all being called Arabs.
The kids, the
The
orphans.
kids, yeah, these orphans were being called Arabs. Well, that suggests that they're from a very different part of the world to
Well, Arabia, right?
Italy
Yeah.
and yeah,
Middle East.
yeah,
That's interesting. I haven't heard
yeah.
that narrative before.
Yeah.
Ah.
So I did. I picked it. I picked the whole thing apart. I traced everything back right to the beginning. And no, we've gone completely off now, haven't we?
Well, yeah, I know. I think we've gone off track. Did we talk about St Germain at all? I think we did. Well,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
be
We flip it
get
on
back
its
on
head.
track,
But
you said you've got
yeah,
a link between our saint of it's the saint of Germain. No,
the Count of St
account
Germain.
of
So yeah,
Saint
so he
Germain.
wasn't a
So he
saint,
wasn't a
actually
saint.
a saint. Yeah.
That was it.
Um, yeah, it was to do with do you know, I've completely lost my train of thought now.
How's he linked to Orange
How
Man
did we link
Fun?
him? Yeah, so
Aaron
um,
von Trump, who is pushing 7 foot. I think he's 6'9" at the moment. Just turned 18.
yeah,
Youngest son
very strange.
of
The
Ronald Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. Yeah, the
Trump.
novels. Yeah, the linking with how I was linking the Count of Saint Germain was actually time travel.
Okay. Time travel, which yeah.
Yeah, yeah, which obviously we I think most people, myself included, are coming from the angle that he's immortal, he's a vampire. But what if he's time traveling? Because being immortal or a vampire, or however he has, whether I mean, he said that he discovered the elixir of life, um, but there is also that element he was never seen drinking anything other than what appeared to be tea. We thought that might be urine, but it also could have been blood.
Yeah.
There's also another spin on it. I've been looking into RH null. Have you heard of the blood type RH null? So we know about
No, it's not
RH negative.
negative. Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. I've got
Okay.
so much stuff on
RH
this.
null. Is this some okay, gosh. Is this
Yeah,
another
so
species
RH null is
woman?
yeah. So RH null, um, it's a strange one. So it's a very very rare blood group. We know RH negative is there's something with RH negative. A lot of people say that my mother-in-law actually is RH negative, and she says that she's got Atlantean blood.
Atlantean. Yeah,
Yeah, she
yeah,
said that a few times.
yeah.
Um,
And science
but I
tells us it means that you're not linked to the rhesus monkey, which everyone else
yes,
apparently is. Obviously, that's the theory of evolution, which I don't believe in that, obviously, but
no,
yeah, it's interesting. But what they're saying is there's at least another distinct group, blood group, right, that doesn't have
yes,
the same origin
yes.
as most people.
So what is that? How could that
How
possibly
could that
be? Yeah. So I started looking into this,
clones?
um, and then I discovered RH null over 60 antigens. Now, people with RH null, do you know there are 43 of them in the world?
That's it. Wow.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I wondered whether or not that this is what people are drinking. Is RH null? So the RH negative is too big. Too many people have RH negative. I know that it's different, and I know that it's considered to be by many Atlantean or perhaps alien to us. But RH null, then that's a blood group that most people haven't heard of before,
No.
and it's referred to as golden blood.
By who? Indeed. Okay.
Yeah,
Golden blood.
golden blood.
Because
Now the
the
backstory
Egyptians
to
used
that.
to call gold the flesh of the gods.
We've got. Is that because we have gold in us? We do have.
We do have gold in us.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's what they call it, the flesh of the gods, and that's obviously there's always been a massive thing about gold, right?
yeah.
Gold, gold and gold's good, right? Gold's always good. It's number one. So
Well,
we
I
have it.
started digging and digging and digging and digging, and I thought this RH null, is that what they're looking for? So that the Vatican vaults, when we, this heel prick test, the Mormon
Yes.
Church as well in their granite vaults. Is that what they're actually looking for? Are they looking for that? And is that what the Nazis were looking for in World War II?
Interesting.
Were
Yeah,
they
'cause
looking
that's a
because they were
whole
hugely into eugenics, weren't they? Is that what
the
actually they're
Nazis,
looking for?
yeah, but we're told, and obviously so is Billy Goat, his father started Planned Parenting.
And
Um,
his mum was IBM.
yeah, yeah, IBM.
His mum, yeah, old Billy's mum is IBM,
So she
and
stole all the
IBM
stuff and gave it to him, did she? What?
which I obviously IBM were the people that were involved with the testing that was going on in World War II.
Oh,
That was
were they? I
IBM.
didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was
And
IBM.
then, of course, we have Ancestry.com
Yeah, owned by Blackstone.
by Blackstone. Yeah. And, if
Mm,
you want, we'll send you out a kit. Just let us know. Send us your DNA. We'll give you a
yeah,
story of who your ancestors are. So there's definitely like a
or
narrative
we'll
there that,
make one up.
oh, yeah, exactly. I will make one up. And that's because that's not what they're doing, right? They're collecting DNA. So,
They
so
are.
why are they
They are.
doing this? Why do they prick every baby's heel and take blood sample? Like that's a narrative. Are they looking for certain people? And if so, why?
Yeah,
Hmm.
because the PKU test, I mean, it's that apparently if you've got, I can't remember the name of the actual mutation. PKU, I wrote this down as well. PKU, hypothyroidism, and other metabolic disorders are what the PKU test is for.
Okay.
But some say that it's just genetic data or DNA for future use. And they reckon it's well, a conspiracy is that the Vatican, when they take that pinprick test, it goes off to the Vatican, and that is so the Vatican can track certain people from birth. Um, but others have said that actually what they're looking for is that Rh null blood group,
Hmm.
which can then be used for sacrificial or occult purposes.
Yeah. So, are there any special features or anything of these people, or
No, but
nothing
there is
that's
one
no?
interesting thing. To be Rh null, your both people, the man and the woman, need
Have
to
to
be
be.
Rh null.
So it's recessive. Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. So it's a little bit like the recessive gene with blue eyes and other features. But yeah, um, that has to be both sides, but male and female. But
Hmm.
I just thought that the fact that it's called golden blood, and the narrative to that is that it's because it's as rare as gold.
Yeah.
Really, gold's not rare.
Gold's not rare. Gold's everywhere, man. It's in the
Yeah, I
leaves
mean
of the
that was
trees. It's in the people. It's
so that can't be it. And
no.
I just started to think we have the blue blood, golden blood. What is that? What they're looking for? Is that what ultimately people like the Count of St Germain were were,
Bad.
were
Okay.
actually consuming?
Well, I'll consume. Yeah. Well, yeah. Or is that a bloodline that, you
His
know,
bloodline, giving immortality. I mean,
giving immortality? Like, is that from maybe somewhere else? Because, Saint Germain, that he was seen on Mount Shastra and he was seen somewhere else, wasn't he? Not like
oh
Tibet.
God,
Tibet, was it?
yeah,
Somewhere like that.
yeah. Seen in Tibet, it's seen bloody
But both
everywhere.
known entrances to the underworld, right?
Yeah,
Like, is
yeah.
there?
Well, he said he was from the an underground civilization in the Himalayas. We were talking about that last time
Yeah.
we spoke about this. That's where he said he was from. Different civilization altogether.
So is that why? Is that because he's from a different race with different blood that lived longer? Is that how he could? crossed the oceans unknown back in the 17 or 1800s, maybe there's tunnels
Mm,
underneath. We'll talk about
yeah,
that kind of stuff.
yeah,
Because obviously I don't believe in, space aliens and space balls, but, you know, I think technology has come from somewhere. Something's been rediscovered and more than just Tartaria, I think. It looks like there's been, especially recently, right? Like since the 50s, it looks like there's been some tech handed over or infused or whatever, into our society. So where did that come from? Did it come from underground? Because there's a lot of stories. Again, it's one of these things that
yeah,
sort of goes through all cultures, right? That there's underground cities and they're all, amazing, right? With people that are giants and extended life and gold and stuff everywhere. And it,
yeah.
you
Special
know,
abilities and
yeah,
genetically advanced. So that links quite nicely into the 1893 novel by Ingersoll Lockwood, the
there you go.
Barry Trump's marvelous underground journey. Like
Ah,
that, yeah,
I did.
yeah. And he
So he's got
claims,
an underground one. Okay, is that the second one?
yeah,
Nice
yeah.
segue,
So
by
no,
the way.
so that, yeah, that's the second book.
Second
Yeah,
one, and the third is The Last President, and the first one's The Amazing
yeah.
Adventures, isn't it? When he goes to
The
Russia.
Adventures of Little Baron Trump and his something like his wonderful dog.
His wonderful dog, yeah,
Oh, what's
yeah.
his dog called? Bulger,
Bulger,
Bulger, Bulger, Bulger,
Bulger.
Bulger,
And he goes to
Bulger.
Russia. Was it a time travel or was it a portal?
The 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 first book, which was the travels and adventures of Little Baron Trump and his dog, that was the one where he's guided by
Don,
Don
yeah, yeah.
Thumb. Yeah, and that is where he uses portals. Yeah,
Portals, is
to
it?
find.
Yeah. And he goes
Yeah,
to Russia and stuff.
yeah,
Interesting portals. Now we've got CERN and stuff.
mm,
Then he goes underground in underground adventures. We've got a lot of
yeah,
talk about that. And
yeah,
then the third one is called The Last President.
yeah.
And the last president lives in Trump Castle on Fifth Avenue,
He does, which was the name of Trump's casino
Trump's
before he changed it to
casino.
Trump Towers. Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot in that. I know
But,
this is just. I've got to tell you this
well,
before I forget. But don't know if I mentioned it before. But have you heard of the book that Warner von Braun bought out? They Mr.
hmm,
NASA, the Mars project in 1952 about Elon, who establishes
yes.
a colony on Mars. Well, you
Yeah.
know that in amongst those books, that there is stuff to do with that there could well be people have predicted that Trump is going to establish a colony on Mars.
Interesting. I wonder where Mars
Yeah,
is. I think it's outsidewards past the moon, right? Um, yeah, well, I
apparently.
mean, this is the thing. So we've got portals in the books, we've got underground in the books, we've got Trump as president in these books from the 1800s. Then we have
Yeah,
Tesla come along. Well, he was around before, at the same time of those books, but he brings in free energy. There is talk of Tesla and time travel. Of course, he dies. Donald Trump's uncle then is happens to be the guy who gets the papers of all of Tesla's stuff that, we're not allowed to look at or know. Then we have these stories of the Looking Glass project, where they
yeah,
made a machine and they could see into the future. And they were using it to shape reality, to like run tests. And then they hit a point, I think it was around 2012, that they could see no further. Like, they were running all
yeah,
these tests and things and nothing was working. And then, of course, we have, yeah, the Warner von Braun book with Elon Musk and Mars. And fast forward to today, and we've got Donald Trump is the president. Elon Musk is his,
yeah,
sergeant at arms kind of, wrecking ball man, who's going to Mars, started SpaceX. Don started Space Force, right? So there's this big time thing, space thing,
yeah.
around this, and there's just so many coincidences. And I mean, there's more than what I just said, if you look deeper, but
I've got a few. I've got
the
a few
Mandela
more.
effect, I would have to tie that into this whole
Yes,
story
yeah,
because
very
what the
true.
hell can create the Mandela effect? There's not that many options, right? But one of them is definitely time travel, people going
Yeah,
back and changing little things in the past.
And these books, they tie in with that theory because nobody bought these books. They weren't popular at all. They only became popular in 2017.
Yeah, yeah, when Donald became the president. So
Yeah, yeah.
how old are they? Or is this how they create, because, let's just say they do have time travel. That would be a good tool for creating a narrative. Like
I
this
mean,
whole thing
there
about
are
Elon and
conspiracy.
Trump, they could have gone back and planted the books and then planted the story
That's
about Tesla and everything right. We can't
but
prove
it.
any of that.
What if it's not them?
What
You
if it's not?
see,
Okay.
yeah, I done some more digging. Oh, incidentally, the book, The Last President, which ties in really nicely with Trump because he's a wealthy outsider. The book is about a wealthy outsider that becomes president, and he's his business empire is in New York.
Yes.
So you've got that going on, but more strange about the whole thing is in that book, The Last President, there is a Secretary of Agriculture who's a really key figure in the cabinet, and his
Okay.
name
He's not called
is
RFK, is he?
no, not no. We're close though, mate. Laugh Pence.
Luff
Pence.
Pence.
Yeah. So think Vice President Mike
Mike
Pence.
Pence. Yeah, yeah.
Now,
Interesting.
what are the chances of two key figures in the cabinet, one in the
Hmm.
book, one today, being Pence?
It's not a very common name. I've never heard it before,
It's not
really.
really, is it? Not
No.
really. Don is the advisor to little Baron,
Hmm.
it's also but what I started digging and looking at QAnon and digging, and people are saying that Baron Trump, Donald's son, has an extremely unusual IQ level. It's extremely high. And that he is physically and mentally advanced. Now, Trump's always claimed that he comes from a superior um, line of
Oh,
bloodline.
bloodline.
His
Yeah,
genetics are
yeah, yeah.
superior. Now we know he's got all of this. Um, he's definitely got an ego, hasn't he? But
Oh,
people are
yeah.
speculating that Baron Trump was brought from the past, that he is a time traveler, that Baron himself, the son, is a time traveler, that the books are about him, and that it is time travel, and it's all to do with Nikola Tesla's work. Um, so there's also some people that say that Baron Trump. It's difficult, isn't it? Which Baron Trump we're talking about? Donald's son, Baron Trump, has been genetically engineered, and some people, this is an even deeper one, that he's an AI hybrid.
AI hybrid. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But the
Ah.
time travel thing with him's quite popular. That
Well, I mean,
that
there's a lot of links to time travel and Trump and the Trump bloodline, I guess you could say.
yeah.
But I'm watching a series called Travelers at the moment. It's about people who come back from the future, because the world, in the future, the world's, you know, devastated and
Mm.
dying. All the same old story in the movies, right?
Always, isn't it? Yeah.
Always. But yeah, they come back to change, make little changes in the past to make, to change the future, to try and save the future. And they're all, um, yeah, got upgrades and stuff and like little nanobots in them. And one guy gets crippled and they just inject him with nanobots and it rebuilds all his stuff. And they're getting all these directives from this thing called the director. And then you find out towards the end of the last series. Sorry, guys, if you're watching it, don't tune out if you haven't seen the end of the last series. Um, but yeah, you find out that the director is AI. It's an AI machine that sent
Right.
them back, and he's making them do all these things to try and change the future. And so, a similar kind of story, right? Except
Yeah.
maybe with Baron von Trump or Baron Trump, he might have been sent from the past forward, is what it sounds
Yes.
like. That's what they're
Yeah.
saying. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's It's interesting. I mean, it'd be nice
Mm.
if he's got all the intelligence and the goodness of heart, and if he's sort of he might just be a Tartarian, right? He might,
He could be. He could be. Yeah. There was a book written in 2016 by a fellow called David Overson, "The Secret Legacy of Jesus," and in the book he says that if Jesus had children, had offspring, that obviously that bloodline would still be alive today,
yeah,
and that the descendants, the direct descendant, could be, and it's just theorizing, could be Donald Trump. Now, people have
yeah,
said he's
right.
claimed to be a descendant of Jesus. He hasn't. He hasn't said that. He just said that he's
No,
genetically superior.
yeah,
But
his mum's name, no, his grandmother's name was Christ. Is that right?
yeah, Scottish, wasn't she?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, might have
Um,
been a middle name, something Christ, Trump or something like that, but interesting.
but QAnon
But
says that he was chosen by Q. And of course, we don't know who Q is. Some people say it's father and son team, Jim and Ron Watkins, is it? That are Q, this father and son duo.
yeah,
Um, but that he was actually chosen by Q, Donald Trump, to lead a battle to take down the elite, um, the satanic worshipping, um, unusual controllers of the world with too much of an interest in young children.
yes. Well, I
Uh,
mean, let's hope so. I mean, yeah,
and
the whole
that's what
Jesus,
people are saying.
yeah, well, the whole Jesus bloodline, I mean, that's been around for a while. I
Mm,
remember reading that books on that back, God, in my late teens, I think, about him going to France with Mary Magdalene and
yeah,
having a
yeah,
family.
yeah.
Um,
And apparently that's where they're buried.
yes. But I mean, I also don't believe that Jesus had any special blood or anything. I just think he was an enlightened person, right? It doesn't necessarily mean he had magical blood, right? And so all of his bloodline
Mm,
are going to be good. But I mean, saying that, if you knew you were related to Jesus, you'd probably think you were pretty good, right? So that would
yeah.
like sort of perpetuate it all. Okay,
I'm just
gee,
seeing the
well, I
Da
mean,
Vinci Code here with Tom Hanks, with that
the Da
the
Vinci.
yeah, where she has that moment where she realizes that she is the scion, and yeah, um,
I
he
mean, it's
was
interesting because a lot of MAGA people literally are calling him Jesus, right? Or
yeah.
they're treating him and basically saying is it Jesus return? So it's there's definitely that Christian connection with Donald Trump.
But
That's
it's
pretty
strange that they're
undeniable.
not talking about his past. I mean, he was a shady character. You know, he was quite a dodgy, ruthless businessman. I mean, that doesn't strike me as being, the savior or a descendant of
No.
Jesus or a prophet. But Dolores Cannon warned us about this. She said that
Yeah.
the next Antichrist was going to be
Yeah,
really
yeah.
what people are describing about Trump.
Yeah, it's in the Bible too. I'm pretty sure it's in the normal canon. He will deceive or deceiveth all nations and all this kind of stuff.
Mm,
But basically, yeah, he'll come in, he'll be a bag of solutions, make everything really good. Everyone will love him for a few years, and then, you know, once he's got everyone leading, the Pied Piper, then he'll turn it around. So who knows? I mean, I I I definitely don't want to focus on that because I still think that everything's kind of created. We create everything by thoughts.
yeah.
And I think that's why they spend so much time in education and making us look at the news and their side, to put a narrative in us. Because when we believe it, we create it for them. And they're doing it because they don't have that creative power because they're not us, right? So, I mean, I think you've got to have your eyes open, but I think it's also, a lot of people are like, oh, he's straight away, like, well, the truth is we don't know what he's going to do. He's done a lot of good stuff that looks good, really good. And he's done a lot of stuff that looks very questionable, right?
Yeah.
So he's at the moment, he's just sort of float, we don't know if he's good or bad, right? Really, like, or what his intentions are. But I just kind of figure that if we believe he's doing the right thing, then we've got more of a chance, right? Rather than sort of
Yeah,
focusing on, oh my God, he's the Antichrist, but saying he's the savior is just as bad, right?
yeah,
Either way. So I
yeah. I
think
think so.
I'm just looking at it as the greatest show on earth, the finale. You know, get your popcorn out because it's going to play out anyway. We don't have that much control over the outside world and what's going on. We've got a lot of control with our own world and internally and what we can create in our own experience. But whatever's going on in we can't, we can't collapse the
No,
government on our own. We can't shut down multinational corporations. We can't stop the war machine. We can't wipe out Monsanto and all the chemicals. So we've just got to kind of do our best, right? Believe in everyone, count
yeah,
on no one.
yeah. I guess, and hope
Hope,
that
hope is good.
yeah. I mean, maybe if he is who some people say that he has come to lead this battle against the cabal, the elite bloodlines. If that is true, then this will play out to our advantage, and the world will be a better place for it. But the
Totally.
problem is, I think we're always waiting for the other shoe to drop, aren't we? Or we're
Yeah,
always, because
yeah,
we've seen
yeah,
it so many times before.
yeah.
Um,
I did a video the other day on it. I'm calling it conspiracy theory trauma. Conspiracy theorist trauma because we've spent so many years digging into this stuff and into the dark stuff, right? And
mm,
seeing that it's all connected and that everyone in power, all the systems are really, really bad, evil. They're doing bad stuff to us. They're, keep taking away our freedom, all this kind of stuff. So that's kind of what we expect. So a lot of people can't even see the good. It's like, oh,
yeah,
well, he's part of the government, so he's obviously bad. And,
yeah,
you can understand why, because that's based on all of their experience. But I think we need to leave room for, like I said, hope, right? It doesn't have to be hopium. You don't have to like, oh my
yeah,
God, he's the savior, and if he doesn't save me, I'm stuffed. It's just like, well, this is good, that's good, don't like that, but let's focus on the good,
yeah,
at least he's
absolutely,
entertaining, he's got balls, he's doing something, even if he is an actor, it's a good show, right? So,
yeah,
I mean, it's
yeah.
all
I
an act to
agree.
some degree, but I think we need to you know, put our effort in, right? Everyone always talks about raise your vibration, a new earth. And then, they don't seem to be able to get out of this low vibration, this quagmire of crap that they get stuck in and so then they hold themselves down. And then that
Yeah,
comes back to Dolores Cannon, who talks about the split, right? The split in humanity, that it's going to divide and there's going to be two humanities basically.
yeah,
And we're kind of seeing that. And that's the other thing is if you're only believing in the bad crap, then all you're going to see is the bad crap, and you're probably going to end up in the world if there's a split in the bad crap. So my advice would be to crawl out of there, man. Like start seeing the world you want to inhabit, and then if this split happens, then that's where you'll be going, right?
I think that we can do that with Tartaria because often when we look at what happened, we're talking about quite a negative series of events to wipe out a civilization, and then the repopulation and how they did all of these things with the orphan trains and so on. But of course, what we could do is focus more on the beauty of what they created and the civilization as kind of a far more spiritually advanced race that were able to well experience things differently to us, and sometimes I wonder if that isn't a focus that's looked at or taken very often. We're so bogged down with looking at the destruction of the empire, we're not perhaps
Mm.
spending as much effort
Looking at the
on the
beauty. Yeah.
beauty of what they did, and the cymatics, and even something as amazing as a star thought. All the world's fairs, instead of marveling over how incredible they were, we instantly go with, well, they stole these and then blew them up and burnt them down.
Yeah, yeah,
It is
yeah.
that negative spin on it all. And I
Yeah.
do find that, yeah, that it can
Yeah.
be quite a negative
It's
topic.
definitely out there, and it's in all conspiracy theories. I mean, that's why I like Tartaria though, is there is a lot of good, right? But it all depends on the person watching, doesn't it?
It
You know,
does, yeah.
like if you decide the world's a crap place and you're a prisoner and it's a prison planet and oh my God, poor little me, well, that's all you're going to see. That like literally, that's all that you'll see. That's how your brain works because there's so much information coming in a day, we can't take it all in. So your
Mm,
brain filters out what it wants to prove you right, basically,
yeah.
which is why when you go to school, they go, a tree is green, a house is this, right? So that's
Mm,
what you see. Who knows what's really out there? We only know what we see, right? But
mm,
yeah, if you expect it to be bad, you're going to see the crap. But if you expect the world's getting better and it's going to be good, then you'll see the good stuff. And that's the good stuff. That's what I like, the star forts and the artwork and the
yeah.
cymatics and the free energy and the cathedrals and the sacred geometry and how does this all work, right? But to me, it tells us that, look what we used to be. Like that's us, right? That wasn't some other alien race. That's our ancestors, right? Who did all this, so we can do it too. And how's this? What if Tartaria still exists?
Yeah.
Fully functioning. And
Yeah.
we've just been lowered down our frequency so much that all we can see is the ruins of it. But if we can get back up into belief and imagination, maybe that's the new earth we're going to walk into, right? Because
Yeah.
everything's frequency. We can only see
It
from
is.
ultraviolet to infrared. What's outside that
Yeah.
tiny
It,
little
we've got a
spectrum?
that's right. Our spectrum is so small.
It's tiny, right?
Yeah.
Like we
Yeah.
can't see it. And it's been made smaller, smaller, smaller by education,
Yeah.
and trying to fit in and try not to look stupid and all this stuff, man. But people who allow themselves to look stupid have much more fun. I mean, clearly, clearly. Really, come on, we all to be stupid. You know,
Yeah.
I think it's all a decision, right?
It is. Yeah. It is. It's where you want to be, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
And it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy to an extent.
It's totally a self-fulfilling prophecy, I think, because again, I think we create everything through thought. Right? Everything's created twice, once in the mind and second in, reality, right? The
Yeah.
outside world.
Mm,
And so it's what it's I think, the hundredth monkey theory, right? If we get to a tipping point where enough people, whatever that number might be, believe that everything's good and are sending out love and empathy and all this, then I think things will, change. And that's because it's us holding this static world, like it's us. But
mm,
also, this is why it's falling apart because people are starting to wake up and ask questions and look at things differently. And as soon as that happens, the world's crumbling, right? All
yeah.
the big businesses are going bust and bankrupt, and politicians are falling, and there's a lot going on, man. The
Yeah.
world is changing. It is. Just how do you want it to change, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the question.
It
I know where
is.
I'm going, man. If this world splits, I'm going up, not down. Like I'm not I'm not diving down those dark rabbit holes and thinking, oh my God, poor little me, look at this, I'm a prisoner in a prison. I mean, if you want to believe it, great, go for it, But I won't.
I agree. I agree. I think to a certain extent we can manifest. You kind of reap what you sow, and
Totally.
I think a lot of that has to do with not just what you watch and what you hear, but also who you spend your time with.
Yeah, man, totally. Yeah,
Mm,
yeah. Look to your left, look to your right when you're out with your friends, right? Because you're the average of them.
yeah, yeah,
Totally, you
exactly.
come like and that's why so many people have, you know, lost a lot of their friends, right? Because they,
Yeah,
they can't make the same decisions. They know that they're on a different path, and you know, can be
I
lonely.
did in the pandemic.
Yeah.
I lost friends in the pandemic. Stopped talking to certain members of my family because we were on a completely different page. My initial thought was, this doesn't sound right. I smell a rat. This doesn't stack up. I'm going to step back. I'm not going to participate with the medical intervention. I'm just going to see this play out. and then other people were telling me that I was irresponsible, and then we were having arguments with old friends online, and I just had to back away. And now I don't speak to so many people because of that. And maybe that was the purpose, to divide us, bit of
Well,
divide and conquer.
it's been said more than once, was that an IQ test?
Hmm. I
Was
haven't.
a test,
Yeah.
some kind of test, right, to see who's sovereign? Because if we want this new world, there's not going to be anyone there to look after you and wipe your butt, right? You're going to have to take responsibility. So then they do something like this, and everyone who lies up are like, "Yes, sir, give me more."
Hmm.
They're not ready for it. Clearly,
No. I
that they
guess the,
need a mummy and daddy to look after them.
I think about that quite a lot, but at the same time, I know that there were people out there that were given no option. Perhaps they were stuck in a country they didn't want to be, or they were going to lose their job, and blah blah blah. So I understand there were people who had it that didn't want to,
Had a
and I
hard
don't
decision.
include
Yeah.
those in that. I personally think that there were some people that were sort of almost um, blackmailed into it. Well, some people were, but I think the people that weren't, that willingly queued up, maybe they're people that won't be coming on this journey.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know a few that had one of Bill's pricks, and after that they woke up.
Mm,
Um, so it's a weird one, right? Like I don't know if I ever, because I saw it as unaliving. That's like I was like, nah, like because that could literally unalive me. So I don't know if I what it would have taken to make me have one. But yeah, that's a strange world. It definitely divided everyone, right? I'm lucky, like none of my family got it. I didn't really know many people who got it. I posted stuff everywhere and
yeah, I did
people
too.
yell and scream and like I had big fights with my ex-brother-in-law. Like we used to butt heads on everything, right? Because he thought he knew everything and it was all the system. And I was on at them and he of course went and got it and I think got his wife and kids to get it and everything. And then my ex told me that last time she saw him, he was like, because all this info's coming out now, he's like, oh, maybe Campbell was right. I thought,
Mm,
yes, well, might be a bit late, mate.
yeah, some people I think have paid the ultimate price for making the mistake of getting it, haven't they?
Well, lots have,
But
man. We've seen them. We've seen them
yeah,
dropping on, young people dropping on fields and
yeah,
old people, not coming out of hospital. And like the figures must be huge. I've heard
yeah.
30 million, but I'm sure it's
Mm.
more.
They normally say when you're given a figure, you can double it. And
Yeah,
I
definitely.
wonder if the blood now of someone who isn't vaccinated is of more value than someone that is.
Of course
And
it
if it
is.
changes, if that's sort of the whole RNA stuff, if that changes your DNA makeup, and I know that our DNA naturally changes all the time, but if we just say that my DNA is now different because mine's unchanged, mine's different to someone who's fully up to date with all of their boosters. If their DNA has been altered, genetically altered, does that reclassify them?
Does it make them a product that someone owns?
Mm,
Because look at, companies like Monsanto, right? That's what they do to corn. They'll change a little bit of the DNA or the RNA, and then they go, well, it's ours. We own it. We
yeah,
created it, copyrighted it.
yeah,
That I've thought about that a lot. There's so many things like it's a big topic, right? And hard to talk about. You need
mm,
code words. But yeah, I definitely think it was an experiment, right? To see who is compliant and who's not for whatever reason, right?
yeah,
Either so they can go after us, lunatics, or so they know who they can control and they just work on them, or is it, to choose the ones that are going forward and they get to say, the control system stays back with all the compliant ones,
yeah. I
because
hope
that's
it's
what they
that.
run on. And that's
But
what that
yeah,
I agree, but all their law systems, right, run on that. Like we have to comply. We have to agree or none of it works. And that's
mm,
what they did. And
Yeah.
everyone who doesn't agree, like we clearly don't want to be under their law system. So it's
Well,
I
I
hope
think
they
that's who
respect
filled
that.
the asylums last time, when we had the Lunacy Act brought in and the start of New World Order and all of these asylums open up everywhere. Well, repurposed Tartarian buildings filled
With
with
you.
people all of a sudden. I think that they were the people that would not comply to the New World
Of
Order.
course. Yeah, I agree. Totally.
And maybe that's what's going to happen again. Maybe they'll say, well, look, we opened up Twitter, we've called it X, but we've given a platform for dissidents to use so we can round them all up. And then we've got one database full of it all. Because people have been getting arrested, haven't they, for speaking out about certain things.
Yeah,
Um,
man. Some people are being arrested for reposting memes, which is an interesting thing. Like, why don't they like literally it's happened more than once, but they don't go after the original poster, they go after someone who shared it.
mm,
That's weird.
yeah,
That does make sense, does it? So yeah.
no,
But I think they're all crumbling. That's all I see is them crumbling and nothing the old guard, everything they try seems to fail, right? Like we're too quick now. Everyone's too awake. Like they announce something and it'll be disproven like within hours now. It used to take
yeah,
months, and before that, it used to take years and then even decades, right? But now it's
yeah,
um. So yeah, man, I think it's all changing for the better. That's where I'm going. Had enough of this low vibration density
yeah,
and these weird
yeah,
people trying to tell me what to do. I'm out of here, mate. Just gonna collect my
yeah.
superpowers at the door and off I go.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man, let's
definitely.
do it. All right, geez, we got an hour and a half, bit of a longer chat
Bloody hell.
tonight. And I think we did get in a bit of what we were going to try and talk about. We got a
Yeah, got a
bit
few
of it in
bits in
there.
there. Yeah,
We tried. We tried.
yeah,
And so your book, you said just got audio. It's on audio tape now, or like
yeah. I put it
audio
onto
book.
it's on Audible. Yeah,
Audible.
yeah,
Nice. All right.
yeah. So you can get it on Amazon.
All
Yeah,
right. Well, we'll put the link below as well, but otherwise just go to Amazon and type in Tesla and the Cabbage Patch Kids. Is that right?
kids.
Kids.
Yeah.
And there's a book and an audio book. Pick it up, share it around, let everyone know you're crazy. Um, This is my calling card. And yeah, I'll leave your channel down below as well. You've just done an
Thank
interview with
you.
Martin Leedkey. I had listened to that. It was a really good chat. So yeah, guys, go and have a listen, give him a sub, helps get his information out there. And yeah, I guess have we reached the conclusion yet? It looks like we'll be
Yeah,
doing another
yeah,
one.
yeah. I think so. I think
Yeah,
so. I think we're just gonna have to see what happens, aren't we?
yeah, yeah,
With some hope
yeah. There's
and some
yeah,
positive thoughts. And but as for Baron Trump and time travel, that's a strange one.
what do you
There's
think,
too
guy?
many coincidences there, and I like a little bit of excitement and mysticism,
Yeah,
and
it's fun.
and why not? So I like to think that there's a bit of Tesla's time travel going on there, and that the books weren't printed over 100 years ago, that the books came out in 2017, and I like all of that.
Yeah,
I like all of that. It's fun.
much
It
more,
makes it
much more
fun.
fun, much more fun than working in an
Mm.
office. Yeah, man. So let us know your thoughts, guys. Is Trump a time traveler? Is Baron a time traveler? What went on? Who was St Germain? Any links to any good videos? Feel free to drop them as well. We'll sort of have a look because we're interested in this little theory. And I'll leave all the links, all that kind of stuff. I'm also doing the Get Your Shit Together hour, guys. I'll leave the link below. Check it out if you want to get your shit together. And there's also the Jolly Swag Tour is coming up in June, and there might be some special announcements to do with that coming up soon, but we'll let you know when that's all worked out. But yeah, thanks for joining us, guys. Thank you, Guy. Another great chat.
Pleasure.
And yeah, we'll catch up soon and do it again, eh?
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for having me back on.
My
Yeah,
pleasure,
I do
mate.
love our chats. I really
Yeah,
do.
I know. One day we'll actually get on track and talk about what we meant to.
Maybe,
Maybe.
but
Sounds
then I quite
boring.
enjoy.
Sounds
Yeah, I
boring.
do. Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
It does. All right. Well, thanks, man. Have a good day. Everyone watching,
Thank you.
stay awesome. Click on the links below, and we'll talk to you on the next upload. Bye for now.
Remember, in the end, nobody wins unless everybody wins. Come on!